I had just moved to a new city for work and had been working here for about 3 months, so I'm still pretty new to the area. My apartment complex, I would say, is in a nicer part of the city and is pretty well kept, so I didn't really expect anyone to go and try breaking into cars. I was set to travel and had a pretty early drive, so I had packed everything for my week-long trip the night before so that I could get up and just get on the road. The next morning I walk out to my car and I see clothes off to the side of my car, and thinking it was weird started to look around the car. Turns out my car had been broken into and was cleaned out. Out of the trunk they took my laptop bag, which had both my personal computer and a government computer, 2 gym's bags, one that had my work clothes and the other had my workout clothes and personal hygiene stuff, and a backpack that had my Nintendo Switch and office supplies in it. They also took $50 out of the console, where I keep change, and random bills for parking. This obviously throws a wrench into my work travel, so I call my supervisor, explain the situation, and come back into work. It's my fault I left all that stuff in my car, so I had to go to our security/id office and explain what had happened and see what the next steps were to get a new work computer. During this meeting with the physical security manager, which was 3 hours after I found my car broken into, I get a call from a local number, and turns out this guy had found my laptops on the side of the road when he was coming home from visiting his mom. My bag had a contact me if found. Conversation goes as follows. Guy: hey man, I found your laptops on the side of the road. I figured you would want them back. They look pretty important. Government laptops are plastered with stickers with official jargon and returning instructions. Me: for sure. I'm currently at work now, but I can come meet you or whatever works. Guy: yeah man, I'm just coming back from visiting my mom, so I'm trying to get to home so I can relax. Me: cool, I can make it work. Can you text me your address and everything so I can just come to you? Guy: I'll send it to you here in a second. It's also my birthday, so if I could get some money for like a finder's fee or whatever, I think that would be cool. Me: yeah man, whatever you need. See you in a bit. As soon as I get off the phone, I call the local police in that area and explain that this guy is trying to extort money from me to get stolen goods back. They instruct me to meet them a few blocks away from the residence, and they will send a plainclothes cop and officers to act on my behalf, so I'm not in direct contact with the guy, just in case, since the situation sounds sketchy. I go and meet them where they go to the residence. The guy's hesitant seeing the cop cars and takes a few minutes to return the bag with the laptops in it. They bring the bag to me to identify the laptops, and everything's still there. I accept the bag and got my laptops and bag back. Easy enough. On the drive back to work, no more than 15 minutes later, this guy still had my number and starts going off bad unreadable spelling and all is seething through text messages on how I could get the police involved. He was trying to be a good Samaritan and he should have thrown my stuff in the grab bag. So I did the normal thing and blocked the number. Now I'm still missing everything else, including the Nintendo Switch, which was in a case with 7 games. Important. I was originally going to take the loss on it and take it as a stupidity tax, since it was almost impossible to get back. However, something didn't sit right with me with this guy, and thinking if he did have it, he was going to try to sell it fast and cheap. I went onto FB Marketplace and Craigslist searching for a Switch for cheap around the same location as his house. Bingo. The ad read $200 Nintendo Switch with 7 games and case slightly used, no charger or dock. Must be gone today. The location was enabled and was within 2 miles of his address. The phone number was the same and the dock and charger were in my apartment. So I had a buddy of mine who lived in the next city over contact him asking if he could hold on to it till tomorrow, since he wouldn't be in town until the next day and he would pay him $300 instead. The dude agrees and also gets him to read off all 7 games that were there. This was to buy us more time so I can go coordinate with the police. The next morning I get everything together to go make a case to police to assist me with this. Police report, the Craigslist ad, the serial number from Nintendo, the screenshots of the text messages between him and my buddy. I make my case and the police agree to do the same thing as the day before and meet me somewhere else to go over what the plan was. I meet them and go over his address and what all I had missing. These are different officers than the day before, and they recognize the address and the name. We found out this guy is known for this stuff and is currently on probation. So we come up with a plan where my buddy will call us on his work phone so we can hear the conversation and call him on his regular phone to see what's going on. The police use a plane cargo to this meetup spot and acting like my buddy scoop the guy up and get him to cough up the rest of the stolen goods. They were able to recover all my items including all my clothes and bags. He ends up going to jail and earns a new felony on his record for receiving stolen property. I think I would have lost the rest of it if I didn't do the digging on FB Marketplace and Craigslist. This story is from a few years ago when I worked in the legal department of a 1,000+ store national retailer. As part of my job, I handled customer complaints that elevated when the customer threatened legal action. Our customer service call center forwarded Karen's call to me after she threatened legal action. Karen left a message claiming that she was not provided $10 in customer reward coupons, spend $200, receive a $10 coupon in the mail sort of thing. This was before apps, based on her purchase of clothing for her son and daughter for back to school. I looked into it and called Karen back. It turned out we had an old address associated with her rewards account. No big deal, right? I spoke with Karen and offered to send her the original $10 coupon and an additional $25 for her trouble to the correct address. That did not satisfy Karen. She claimed we should have known her address and threatened to sue us if we didn't pay her $1,000 in cash. Her rationale was that it would cost us at least $1,000 to defend the suit. She was in a state in which our company did not have any offices, so we should just pay it to her. I declined, but still forwarded her the $10 coupon she was entitled to pursuant to our awards program. Sure enough, she sued us for breach of contract, fraud, and any other conceivable charge. I went to my boss, the COO, and told him the story. He asked what I wanted to do. I said I'd rather pay legal fees to a defense attorney than pay Karen, and he agreed. I contacted outside counsel. Our awesome attorney explained the situation to him, and I let you not, he said, in a southern drawl. I get to sue Karen. I should be paying you guys. There are a lot of lawyers in this legal community who would love to sue her as she is reckless, unpleasant, and a total pain in the butt to deal with. I'll gladly take your case. He agreed to defend us at a reduced rate. Part of our defense strategy was to counter-sue her under the state's frivolous lawsuit statute, which would move the suit from small claims court to the larger civil court. Awesome attorney filed our answer and counterclaim. Although Karen was an attorney, she was not a defense attorney, so she had to engage her own attorney to defend against the counterclaim. After a couple of hearings, she offered to settle for no more money exchanged. She didn't even get the extra $25 coupon I offered her, and the dismissal of both suits. I talked with awesome attorney about continuing our claim, but he advised it would probably be worth settling and being done with it, rather than being vindictive. Although vindictive would have been fun, courts tend not to like that, so I agreed. My company ended up paying awesome attorney $900 in attorney's fees. Awesome attorney later called and told us that the attorney Karen engaged charged her $1,700 to defend the suit. Although I would have liked to continue with our suit, I think her having to pay $1,700 over a $10 coupon sent to the wrong address is sufficient justice. I used to work at a medium-sized services company and had recently been moved to a smaller branch office with a nice pay raise. I was basically my own team and got to do interesting work on a large project. Since they were satisfied with the work, but needed it done in a larger scale, the company hired another person to help me. Meet Fred. I knew Fred from outside work through common relationships, and I didn't find him any weirder than other nerdy people in the business. Oh boy. Fred was good at technical work. Very good. When it came to human interactions, though, it was something else. Fred thought of me as his only friend in the workplace and would complain all day long about all other colleagues, who were all equally incompetent, weird, evil, and generally deserving of his scorn. Fred had a terrible tendency of telling other people we had to work with that they were doing things wrong and that their software was crap. which was often technically right, but completely forgetting the constraints in which other people had to work, and that there might have been reasons for things that now sounded awful, which is basically always the case in it. People resented both of us as a team for things he said, and some situations became entrenched. It was getting harder every day for me to get to work. Eventually he made a lot of enemies, and he got a meeting with the division director. It only lasted for a few minutes, during which he told the boss of 800 people that he was an evildoer. It was his last day in the company. I worked alone from that time, and managed to finish most of the project, smoothing things over with other teams. A few months later I got an offer for the job of my dreams in a huge utility company. After starting the work, guess who I discover working right here as a contractor under my direct supervision? Fred. Fred looked so happy to find a friend again. He spent most of my first day at work telling me how the company was awful, everyone was dumb and everything was insufferable. I went home that night feeling horrible, wondering how much of what he told me was true, and how bad it would be to work there. Turns out, after a few hard starting days, it really was the job of my dreams. Acting now with Fred as a client, and not a colleague, I managed to keep him in check and to improve a lot the perceived quality of the team's work. Prior to my hiring, Fred was basically telling people to F off whenever they were asking him things he didn't want to work on. Having someone who could see through his BS to manage him got the roadmap back on track. Eventually I learned that my colleagues had been very wary about working with me at the beginning, because Fred had been bad-mouthing me from the day he learned I had been hired to manage him. This had made the first weeks difficult, until they understood he had been lying about it all. About 2 years later, I was now team manager and my boss comes in my office and asks me about a hiring issue. There's a new position in the team, and the recruiter asked him about someone with excellent technical skills, but who sounded very arrogant. Guess who wanted to work as my colleague again? If you followed the story, you've got it right. I did not let out to my boss the slightest bit of resentment. I explained to him how he was a very competent person, but that he might just lack a bit of the skills required for our company's teamwork. I knew exactly what I had to say for my boss to never want to hire him, ever, without making it about our personal history. I only told what happened to a close coworker, and he sounded very thankful to hear that he would not have to work with Fred as a colleague. A few months later, his company lost the contract and Fred was hired by the new contractor. However, they were not as lenient with him as the previous company was, and another few months later I was finally Fred free. Last I heard of him, he was working at a Silicon Valley giants on a project that was in a worldwide media backlash over technical issues. I keep wondering whether he was telling everyone else in his team how bad at their job they were and how much he contributed to that massive failure. I was with this guy for a while, until he cheated on me when I went to visit my family for my birthday. He was really nasty about it too. I found a condom wrapper, which we weren't using, and confronted him. But he started gaslighting me, telling me it had been there since before we were together, and that I was being paranoid. I wanted to believe him, but deep down inside I knew that I didn't. One day, he brought me back my spare notebook which I was letting him use until he had enough savings to get his own. He was so stupid that he hadn't even logged out of Facebook. I checked his messages on the day after my birthday and found out he had indeed cheated on me. I confronted him, and after initially lying to me again and calling me crazy, he eventually broke down crying and begging. Needless to say that I dumped his ass that same night. But he saw himself as the victim in this whole story and complained to all of his friends about me breaking off contact with him when he was supposedly so in love with me. About a year later I was swiping on Tinder when I saw him on there. I had been told he was in a relationship, and so I went to check his Facebook. Turns out that he not only was in a relationship, but had cropped his girlfriend out of a picture he was using on Tinder. Even though I had not talked to him in a year, I had a feeling this might one day come in handy. So I took some screenshots and left swipe to get him out of my face. To my surprise, about half a year later, I get a series of weird 4 AM texts from him. He's saying that he changed after our relationship, and that I broke his heart so bad that now he has issues in his current relationship and that's somehow my fault. Of course, this is a whole load of BS. since he was the one who cheated, but this is just the type of person he is. Nothing is ever his fault. I was going to answer you cheated on me, you pose, but then I remembered the screenshots. I go to his Facebook and see that he still has the profile picture with his girlfriend. And so I did the only thing any reasonable person would do and sent her the screenshots along with the message. I don't know what he told you, but I want you to know that he cheated on me. I later found out she dumped him too. If you enjoyed the stories, slap the like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.